Hello and welcome back to Eurofootball Daily, where today we are running through 10 clubs that through poor decisions, appointments or just downright bad luck have lost their identity. Let's get started. 10. Arsenal. There was always going to be a period of change at the Emirates after Arsene Wenger's departure. The lovable Frenchman had transformed Arsenal into not only an incredible successful side, winning 10 trophies including 4 Premier League titles, but also many neutrals' favourite, with their attacking philosophy yielding 1.9 goals a game across his 22-year tenure. And whilst they may have lost their way in the latter part of his reign, Arsenal's decision to appoint Unai Emery took them further away from their identity than ever before. Then Chief Executive Ivan Gazidis may have promised exciting progressive football, but the reality was anything but. Arsenal lost 10 league games in his first campaign, a figure only topped once in the previous 12 seasons, and a club record £141 million outlay in the summer of 2019 only led to further regression. Arsenal won just 4 of their opening 13 games, whilst conceding an average of 16.7 shots per game, including 31 to Watford, 24 to Wolves and 21 to then 19th place Southampton, before Emery was sacked. Mikel Arteta now has the massive task of righting what was an increasingly directionless ship under Emery. 9. Sampdoria. For fans of Sampdoria, their late 1980s and early 1990s heyday, where the likes of Vialli and Mancini helped them to 1 Scudetto and 4 Coppa Italias, must seem like a lifetime ago. Back then, they were able to attract players of the quality of Hullit, Platt and Karambou to the club, and with their cult kits and underdog status, quickly became many people's favourite Italian side. Their success largely built off a very strong defence that conceded an average of 25 league goals per season between 1984 and 1992, just topping Juventus's 24 over the last 8 seasons, is long gone. Their limited success under Marco Giampaolo between 2016 and 2019 of 2 10th and 1 9th place finish, whilst conceding an average of 55 league goals per season, earned him the Milan job. And this season has been an unmitigated disaster. 1 win in their opening 7 games saw Di Francesco out and Ranieri in, and while 6 wins in 18 games have stabilised them, they remain just 1 point clear of the drop zone at the time of writing. Still painfully reliable on a 37-year-old Fabio Quagliarella, scorer of 38% of their league goals since the start of the 17-18 season, whilst also selling top talents including Anderson, Torreira, Schick, Skriniar and Luis Muriel in that time, it's difficult to see Samp's long-term vision. Just before we move on to our next one, if you're not already subscribed to Eurofootball Daily, then what are you doing? Please smash that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss a video. 8. Hannover. While Sampdoria might be creeping towards the drop, Hannover have already suffered the terrible fate of being relegated twice in the last 4 seasons. They currently sit 11th in the Bundesliga 2, 13 points off second place Hamburg with 9 games to go. This is a quite simply remarkable decline for a club that finished 4th, 7th, 9th and reached a Europa League quarter-final between 2011 and 2013. Despite possessing a 49,000-seater stadium, Hannover are notoriously tight, only spending a net £25.8 million in the 5 seasons following their European run. That, coupled with their decisions to sell their better players such as Hosselu and Lars Stindl, meant that the writing was on the wall. Their relegation was inevitable and Hannover were relegated in May 2017. They might have gained promotion back to the top flight the following season under current Hearts boss Daniel Stendel, but it proved to be a year-long interlude in an otherwise depressing club decline. 7. Monaco. It was just under 3 years ago that a Monaco side including Mbappe, Fabinho and João Moutinho romped to the Ligue 1 title and reached the Champions League semi-finals, vanquishing Man City and Dortmund along the way. That season, Jardins Monégasque scored a ridiculous 159 goals in 63 competitive games, or 2.5 per game, with Falcao and Mbappe netting 56 goals between them. Now, any side that sells £551 million worth of talent in the intermittent years would experience a drop-off, but the manner of it has been concerning. Their decision to replace Jardim 9 Ligue 1 games into the 18-19 season and replace him with a novice in Thierry Henry yielded 2 wins in 12 league games before the decision was reversed. Not only that, but their playing style has completely altered, with their shots per game dropping from 14.6 in 16-17 to a measly 12.3 in 18-19. Whilst last season was just the second time in the last 6 campaigns they have not had the majority of possession in their league games. Once known for their fabled academy and trust in youth, only 4 of their 15 most used players are under the age of 25. What's more, only 3 members of their 28-man squad are academy graduates, and only Benoit Badiashile has received over 10 league minutes of action. 6. Werder Bremen. In the 7 seasons spanning between 2003-04 and 2009-10, Werder Bremen managed to win 1 Bundesliga title and only once finished outside of the top 3. But the days of Mertesacker, Diego and Klose must seem like a distant memory for the Die Werder Anna faithful, with the club currently languishing in the relegation zone. This has been a major shock for a fan base that saw their side finish 8th in 18-19, just 5 points off 4th place by Leverkusen. Last summer they lost club captain and top scorer for the last 3 seasons, Max Kruse, on a free transfer, and the story of the season was defined in the opening weeks when his €6.5 million replacement, Nicholas Füllkrug, tore his ACL. In challenging circumstances, Bremen have collapsed, with their 15.1 shots conceded per game the 3rd worst record in the division, unsurprisingly leading to 12 defeats in their last 15 league games. With their goals per game dropping from 1.7 to 1.1 in the space of 12 months, their 39-year stay in the Bundesliga could well be coming to an end. And with their best player Milot Rashica almost certain to leave this summer, an immediate return could prove problematic. 5. West Ham. Talk to any West Ham fan and they will mention 2 things: that their club is the academy of football and that they somehow won the World Cup, despite providing just 3 members of England's 1966 squad, incidentally the same amount as Man United and Liverpool. And whilst their history has barely been overwhelmingly successful, with just 3 trophies and 16 top half finishes in the 54 years since England's World Cup win, recent times have not been kind to the club. Although they have only spent 1 of the last 14 years in the Championship, their lack of success since returning to the Premier League ahead of the 2012-13 campaign has been stark. 3 top 10 finishes and 3 domestic cup quarter-finals isn't a good return on their £153 million net investment in those 8 seasons, £53 million more than London rivals Spurs. And that well-established academy, well, it's stopped producing. Mark Noble aside, academy graduates have played just 6.3% of the available minutes over the last 4 completed seasons. Ranked by Deloitte as the 18th richest club in the world in January 2020, above the likes of Everton, Napoli and AC Milan, West Ham are a classic case of how a poorly run football club can quickly lose its way. 4. Valencia. Valencia owner Peter Lim made a very stupid decision earlier this season. Just 3 games and 1 win into it, he decided to give manager Marcelino his marching orders. Coming just 4 months after they had finished 4th for the 2nd consecutive season, as well as reaching a Europa League semi-final and winning the Copa del Rey, their first trophy in 12 years, this seemed like a hasty decision. In his stead, Lim hired Julian Lopetegui's former Spain and Real Madrid assistant Albert Celedez for his first managerial role. And whilst returns haven't been disastrous, with the Bats reaching the Champions League knockout stages for the first time in 7 years, at the enforced break they sat 7th, 4 points off Champions League qualification. Whilst that doesn't sound horrific, their style of play has definitely regressed. They've already conceded more goals than in each of the last 2 full seasons, despite having 11 games still to play, with no side topping their 39 against in La Liga's top 11. As if that wasn't bad enough, their attack, never particularly potent under Marcelino, has collapsed. Having taken 12.6 shots per game in 18-19, the 6th best record in Spain, they've now taken just 9.2, with only Alaves firing off fewer. Ranked as the 13th best side in Spain according to expected goals, and with Ferran Torres attracting interest, things look set to get worse before they get better in eastern Spain. 3. Newcastle. Whilst things look set to get better for Newcastle, at least on the pitch, With their impending takeover, only Mike Ashley himself would argue that the Magpies haven't lost their way under his stewardship. Having bought the club just 4 years after they last appeared in the Champions League, Ashley has twice overseen relegation, never progressed past the 5th round of either domestic cup, and finished in the top half just 3 times in 13 seasons. And Ashley has to take an enormous portion of blame. He's appointed 10 different managers at an average of 1 every 16 months, with the likes of Joe Kinnear failing to be offered a job since, and John Carver out of work since a stint in Cyprus in 2017. What's worse, despite routinely filling out their 52,000-seater stadium, Newcastle's record signing remained Michael Owen's £22.5 million move from Real Madrid in August 2005 until the arrival of Joe Linton last summer. In fact, across his reign, Newcastle have only bought 13 players for over £10 million, compared to West Ham's 16, Everton's 21 and Southampton's 23. Is it any wonder that his underfunded side ranked 20th for expected goals and 17th for expected goals against? New ownership can't come soon enough. 2. AC Milan. Like Newcastle, AC Milan's decline has been absolutely catastrophic. The first decade of this century saw them win 1 Scudetto, 2 Champions Leagues, and only once finish outside the top 5. But their collapse since their 18th and most recent title win in 2011 has been rapid. In the last 6 full seasons, the Rossoneri have failed to end up higher than 5th, with a 10th place finish in 14-15 under Inzaghi a particular low point. Current manager Stefano Piolo is their 10th boss in that time, with no manager lasting 50 games. Their transfer policy has also been terrible, with the likes of Thiago Silva, El Shaarawy and Zlatan being let go of too soon, and players like Brian Cristante and Aubameyang discarded without being given a chance. Even now, the lack of joined-up thinking is concerning. Piontek was sold for an €8 million loss after just 1 year, to make way for a 38-year-old Zlatan Ibrahimovic, who is set to make upwards of €4 million in his 6-month spell. Without a Champions League appearance in 6 seasons, AC are now just a fairly average Italian side, trying to find their way again. 1. Manchester United. Have Manchester United improved this season under Solskjaer? Well, if you compare it to the back end of the 2018-19 season, in which they took 8 points from their final 9 games, losing to Cardiff and dropping points away at Huddersfield, then yes. This season they have achieved some marquee results, beating Leicester City, Spurs, Chelsea twice and Man City twice, but they are still far off where they once were. Their tally of 1.5 goals per game to date is 0.2 fewer than they managed in their disastrous Mourinho-Solskjaer campaign in 2018-19. What's more, they are on track to finish with just 59 points, their lowest tally since 3 points for a win was introduced in 1981 and 5 fewer than they managed under David Moyes. The reason they are still in the hunt for Champions League football is mainly down to the deficiencies of not only Arsenal and Spurs, but also Chelsea, who threw away a 10-point lead in early November. The main positive from the Ole reign to date is the fact that their shambolic transfer business of the last few seasons appears to be ending, with the signings of Maguire, Wan-Bissaka and Bruno Fernandes all proving positive thus far. So those were our 10 clubs that we think have lost their identity, but is there any others? Please let us know in the comments below. If you've enjoyed this video and want to see more, then click on screen right now. And as always guys, don't forget to like and subscribe.